Hello, Dolphins fans. We know that the Miami Dolphins had a tough campaign in 2024, and that has left fans frustrated and eager for change. Despite finishing the season with an 8-9 record and missing the playoffs, there's reason to believe that better days are ahead for the Dolphins. If you are a true Miami Dolphins fan and hope to see a better result in 2025, hit the like button. If possible, write down in the comments below, what is the biggest change that should be made to the Miami Dolphins in 2025? Now I want to address some important points about the 2025 schedule, and why this upcoming schedule could be a turning point for Miami and why the pressure is increasing on key figures within the organization. One of the most significant takeaways from the upcoming season is the manageable nature of Miami's schedule. With the Dolphins finishing second in the AFC East, they will face a second-place schedule, meaning their non-divisional matchups will include other teams that also finished second in their respective divisions. This includes opponents from the AFC West and AFC South, in addition to their standard divisional games and a crossover with the NFC South. Let's start with the home schedule, which is quite intriguing. The Dolphins will play 9 home games in 2025, although one of those games will take place on neutral ground. More on that later. Their home opponents include divisional rivals like the New York Jets, New England Patriots, and Buffalo Bills. Additionally, they'll host the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Los Angeles Chargers, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Washington Commanders. At first glance, some fans might be concerned about facing the Ravens and Bengals at home, given that both teams are expected to be strong playoff contenders. However, there's a silver lining. Avoiding late-season trips to cold-weather cities like Baltimore and Cincinnati is a win for Miami. Historically, the Dolphins have struggled in cold weather, and playing these tougher opponents at home gives them a better shot at securing victories. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Miami's home schedule is the neutral site game in Spain. That's right, the Dolphins will be heading to Europe as part of the NFL's ongoing efforts to expand its global reach. While the exact opponent hasn't been confirmed, it won't be a divisional rival. Early speculation suggests it could be a marquee matchup against the Bengals, featuring star players like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase going up against Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins' high-powered offense. This potential clash could be an excellent way for the NFL to showcase its product to a new audience overseas. Moving to the road schedule, the Dolphins have some tricky matchups but also favorable draws. They'll face the Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, and New York Jets on the road, all tough divisional games, especially in hostile environments. Outside the division, they'll travel to face the Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts, Atlanta Falcons, and Carolina Panthers. The timing of some of these road games will be crucial. For instance, playing in Cleveland or Pittsburgh in late November or December could expose the Dolphins to harsh weather conditions. However, matchups against the Colts and Falcons will take place in dome stadiums, reducing the impact of weather. Meanwhile, a trip to Carolina shouldn't pose too many challenges weather-wise, and the Panthers are still in rebuilding mode. Overall, the Dolphins' 2025 opponents combined for a winning percentage of .474 in 2024, which ranks Miami's schedule as the 21st hardest in the league. That's a much more favorable outlook compared to previous years. However, it's important to keep in mind that these projections can change based on off-season moves, draft picks, and coaching changes across the league. While the schedule looks promising on paper, Dolphins fans are right to remain cautiously optimistic. After all, the team had the easiest schedule in the NFL in 2024, yet still finished with a disappointing 8-9 record. That season exposed some glaring issues within the organization, and it's clear that 2025 is a make-or-break year for head coach Mike McDaniel, general manager Chris Greer, and even quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. The pressure is mounting on this trio to deliver results. The Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in over 2 decades, and another year without postseason success could spell the end for McDaniel and Greer. Owner Stephen Ross has been patient, but his patience is running thin. Missing the playoffs in back-to-back seasons would likely result in significant changes within the organization. The path to the playoffs won't be easy, even with a favorable schedule. The AFC is stacked with talent, and several teams will be vying for those coveted playoff spots. The Dolphins will need to outperform not just their divisional rivals, but also other wild-card contenders like the Steelers, Chargers, Broncos, Bengals, and even the up-and-coming Texans. If the Dolphins want to return to the postseason, they'll need to take care of business in the winnable games. Matchups against the Jets, Saints, Browns, Panthers, and Colts stand out as opportunities to rack up victories. Going 5-1 in those 6 games would put Miami in a solid position to reach 10 wins, which could be enough to secure a playoff berth. However, it's not just about making the playoffs. For McDaniel, Greer, and Tagovailoa to keep their jobs beyond 2025, the Dolphins will need to win a playoff game. The fan base is hungry for success, and simply making the postseason won't be enough to satisfy them. In the end, the Dolphins' fate will hinge on their ability to seize opportunities and capitalize on a favorable schedule. They'll need to avoid the pitfalls that plagued them in 2024 and prove that they can compete with the best teams in the league. Now it's time to hear from you, Dolphins fans. What do you think of the 2025 schedule? Are you optimistic about the team's chances of returning to the playoffs? And who do you think Miami will face in their historic game in Spain? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Dolphins content all season long. As we dig deeper into the 2025 season, there's a lot to unpack regarding the dynamics of the Dolphins roster and what needs to change for Miami to avoid another disappointing season. The team's leadership, particularly head coach Mike McDaniel, general manager Chris Greer, and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, are under the microscope. There's no denying that this season is their ultimate test. If they fail to deliver, sweeping changes could be on the horizon. Let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, the quarterback situation. Tua Tagovailoa has shown flashes of brilliance, but his consistency remains a question mark. His health is another concern. The Dolphins have invested heavily in Tua as their franchise quarterback, but the results have been mixed. He's capable of making big plays, but Miami fans know all too well that durability and decision-making are just as critical as highlight reel throws. If Tua can stay healthy and perform at a high level, the Dolphins have a chance to contend. But if he struggles or misses time due to injuries, it could be a repeat of 2024, and the fan base won't tolerate that. Another major storyline heading into 2025 is the future of Mike McDaniel. When he was hired, McDaniel brought a fresh, innovative offensive approach to the Dolphins. His schemes focused on maximizing the speed and athleticism of Miami's playmakers, and for a time, it worked. However, opposing defenses have adjusted, and McDaniel needs to evolve his game plans to stay ahead. His ability to adapt will be critical in 2025, especially when facing tougher defenses like Baltimore and Cincinnati. What's also at stake here is Chris Greer's job security. As the general manager, Greer has had several years to build a winning roster, but the results haven't lived up to expectations. The 2024 season was supposed to be the year Miami took a significant leap forward, especially with an easier schedule. Instead, it was a season filled with frustration and missed opportunities. Greer has one last chance to prove he's the right person to lead Miami's front office. That means hitting the mark in free agency and the draft, finding contributors who can make an immediate impact, and addressing the team's glaring weaknesses. One area that needs urgent attention is the offensive line. Protecting Tua has to be a top priority. We've seen what happens when he's under constant pressure, mistakes pile up, and injuries become inevitable. If the Dolphins can shore up their protection, it will allow Tua more time to make plays and reduce the risk of him taking unnecessary hits. Additionally, the running game has to be more consistent.